K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com. K98talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98talk.com.
We believe in the American way, and we built this country called the USA, and we fly our flag because we're proud and free, we're Americans. Red, white, and blue is our way of life. Never back down from a challenge or a fight. Nature provides, God gives the rights, we're Americans. We fish the waters and we hunt the lands. We forge the steel with our own two hands. With what we've got, we do the best we can, we're Americans.
It's time now for the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show on K98 Talk. Now, here's Grouchy.
Good evening. Welcome to the new 2-hour program. Thanks to you. Growing, expanding. Ever happy to be here. Sorry wasn't with you last week, but in the transition, some things have to be sacrificed. And I'm just glad you're here with me tonight. So right off the bat, let's take care of a little corporate business. If you're listening, obviously you have found your way there. So help your friends find the K98talk.com webpage. Show them where the streaming player is in the upper right-hand corner, and then show them how to navigate down that same side of the page down to the chat room. And I'll be checking into the chat room shortly and try to keep up with you guys. And when we kick off hour 2 tonight, we're going to be joined by our very special guest, Politibunny. And we're going to let Sam... I don't know. She thinks she's going to make me blush or something. Some gauntlet's been thrown down, but anyway, whatever it is, I can handle it. But we're very happy to have Sam with us tonight. And we're going to kick the program off, and we're going to get you good and stirred up right off the bat. Let's talk about House Resolution 5, the Student Success Act. Now, what the hell is that, you ask? Yeah, I know. You've probably not heard of it, but let me tell you why it's a big deal. It ends private schools' religious freedom from government control. It compromises your parents' control over their own child's education. If this passes, the Department of Education plans to use billions of dollars in funding to literally smash parental civil rights over students at their very core. Now, we're going to go a little deeper into this, and we need to look at some excerpts from the bill that, if passed, would be implemented within 5 years. This is short time. Okay, here, listen to this. This is a line straight out of H.R. 5, and feel free to look that up too. That's House Resolution 5, the Student Success Act. The first line I want to bring attention to is, quote, states are to retain rights and authorities they do not expressly waive, end quote. So, what does that mean? Yeah, what the hell does that mean? Well, here's what it means. It means if the states accept any federal money, they thereby, quote unquote, expressly waive their rights. How about that? So you either run your state education on your state money or you succumb to the government control. Now, here's another winner out of this same bill. Other than the terms and conditions expressly approved by state law under the terms of this subpart, control over public education and parental rights to control the education of their children are vested exclusively within the autonomous zone of independent authority reserved to the states and individual Americans by the United States Constitution, other than the federal government's undiminishable obligation to enforce minimum federal standards of equal protection and due process. Folks, if they take away what you can and can't do with your child's education, would being a parent feel any more meaningless? I mean, you're talking about just stripping out a huge part of parenting. The job of parenting your child's education just got a whole lot easier thanks to the federal government, because they're going to tell you what to do, how to do, when to do it, and the same for your kid. Okay, and what they want is to, again, another quote, ensure that teachers and families of the children participate on an equitable basis in services and activities, secular, neutral, non-ideological. Such educational services or other benefits, including materials and equipment, shall be secular, neutral, and non-ideological. You know what that means? That means you can forget about a Christmas party at school. You can forget about talking about Easter at school. You can forget saying the Pledge of Allegiance with God in it at school. You can forget about everything that you and I grew up on, everything that we are passing along to our children right now, and for some of us grandchildren, it's going to be gone. So, I mean, if states want money, they sign a deal with the devil. And this kind of government control over thoughts and beliefs sounds eerily like a couple of books that I read while in school, while we said the Pledge of Allegiance, while we opened the day with a prayer, at a public school. Thank you very much. So really, tell me what you think about this. Should government funding equal a government stranglehold? And to share that opinion that you have or might not have, whether you agree or disagree, you can call us at 408-681-8255. That's 408-681-8255. Now, backing up a little bit, I got my list out of order. I'm going to keep chafing your shorts here a little bit. My notes are out of order because the second guest that I was trying to line up wasn't able to make it. We wish Ken Wall the best, and we hope to have him on another night. I was hoping to have he and Bunny on together, at least for a few minutes. That would have been fantastic. But Ken is working a great initiative called Shelter Pets for Hero Vets. If you're not familiar with it, you should check out Ken Wall's Facebook and or Twitter page and read up on this most worthwhile cause. Now, to keep chafing your shorts, Marie Harf. Yeah, the one from the State Department. You know who I'm talking about. The one who looks like she's perpetually constipated as she tries to talk. Yeah. Well, you remember she made the comment, and again, take into consideration, I was out last week, so she made the comment about what ISIS needed was jobs, and that would probably solve a lot of those problems. Well, she doubled down on that statement and even went on so far as to say that her view was probably too nuanced for some. Yeah, you heard that right. Too nuanced. Now, if that's not taking a page straight out of the Obama narcissist playbook, I don't know what is. But then Harf, in her main statement here, she drew attention to Joseph Kony, who I'm not even sure anybody's seen him alive in the last 6 years, but she called Kony's group a Christian militant group when discussing the threat posed by extremist groups around the globe. And she did her interview, of course, on MSNBC on the Morning Joe show. They should call that the Morning Jackass show. But anyway, Harf talked about the need for the U.S. to enlist allies in its ongoing terrorism efforts. And she then referenced the African warlord Joseph Kony, who I mentioned, I'm not even sure anybody's seen alive in the last 6 or 7 years. She said, quote, "We have over 60 countries from around the world who are facing a number of different kinds of extremist threats. If you look at the Lord's Resistance Army and Joseph Kony, I don't remember people talking about that as much anymore, but that's a Christian militant group," she said. So there are a lot of different extremist threats we face and a lot of tools to go after each one of them. What the hell is she babbling about? I swear to God, she looks like she's in pain when she tries to think and talk at the same time. Harf's comments came just 2 days after she told Chris Tingle Up My Leg Matthews that one of the ways the U.S. could combat terrorist groups like ISIS was to focus on improving job prospects in the region. Hey, I got an idea for you. Why don't we find jobs for the 10 million Americans that are out of work instead? Dumbass. She said, we can't kill our way out of this war. Apparently, she's never been anywhere close to anybody that has any kind of military training or background. That's exactly how you end a war. You kill their asses. She says we need in the medium to long term to go after the root causes that lead people to join these groups, whether it's a lack of opportunity for jobs. I'm sorry. Wow. Even Chris Matthews had to stop her. He cut her off. And Chris Matthews, for as much as I disagree with him on, he hit the nail on the head with this. He said, we're not going to be able to stop that in our lifetime or 50 lifetimes. There are always going to be poor people. So after all this, Harf, after her comments go viral, she stands by her words during an appearance on CNN later. And she says, it might be too nuanced a view for some people to get, because Democrats are smart and anybody else is just stupid. So for Republicans and military commanders and our partners in the Arab world, they're just idiots. Harf has all the answers. I wish I had them all when I was her age, but unfortunately, I was raising a family and living in reality while serving in the military. God bless America. And I hope God blesses her because she really needs something. And ladies and gentlemen, I just got word from Mr. Producer that the chat room is open on the page now. If you were trying to get there before, chat room is now open. And I am going to make my way over in there. Give me just a moment here. Chat room. And G is now in the chat room, so come join me, and I'll be checking in throughout the show. All right, where'd my notes go? Oh yeah, okay. So enough of harf barf. Let's move on. We have the Health and Human Services Office of Refugee Resettlement has confirmed that as part of the amnesty program, that abortion is one of the emergency medical services that, listen now, must be made available by federally funded caregivers of illegal alien unaccompanied minors who have been sexually assaulted and become pregnant. Are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? So Health and Human Services is now mandating that yours and my tax dollars are going to be spent to help illegal aliens have abortions. HHS issued this new regulation on sexual abuse and sexual harassment of unaccompanied children on December 24th of last year. And although the regulation does not specifically name abortion as one of the required emergency medical services, an official from HHS told CNS News via email that abortion is one of those services indeed. Quote, the lawful pregnancy-related medical services includes abortion, said the email. Are you getting pissed yet? We're just 20 minutes into the show. I got to laugh because if not, I'm going to cry. So HHS includes emergency contraception, which includes abortion-inducing drugs such as Plan B and One Step, which can prevent a fertilized egg from implantation. These standards and procedures to prevent, detect, and respond to sexual abuse and sexual harassment involving unaccompanied children in ORR's care providers' facilities. The regulation adds, care provider facilities must provide UC, unaccompanied children. Yeah, that's what UC stands for. UC victims of sexual abuse timely, unimpeded access to emergency medical treatment, crisis intervention services, emergency contraception, and sexually transmitted infections prophylaxis in accordance with professionally accepted standards of care where appropriate under medical or mental health professional standards. So they're talking about giving care to illegal alien children that are crossing the border illegally, coming into the United States, and the parents have to know that there is a percentage of these children that are being sexually abused. And it's not the kid's fault. It's really not. And don't get me wrong, this is not the Obama argument. It is not the kid's fault. Unless they're old enough to be crossing the border on their own, knowing why and how and all that good stuff. You know, teenagers, older teenagers that have a rational thought about what it is that they're doing. These kids are being sent to this by their parents because somehow they think that it's worth the risk for what they might get once they get here. I can't even imagine the kind of parent that would do something like that. And I hope you're not one of those parents listening, because if you are, you need to just cut the line and block me, because I don't want anything to do with you if you're that kind of parent. Um, ORR is mindful that some potential and existing grantees and contractors may have religious or moral objections to providing certain kinds of services, including referrals for emergency contraception. That's the HHS code word for abortion, if you didn't know that. ORR is committed to providing resources and referrals for the full range of certain kinds of services, including referrals, and helping to facilitate access to these options and doing so in a timely fashion and in a manner that respects the diverse religious and cultural backgrounds of UCs. You know, a lot of these children don't they don't even know their own religion. So how the hell can they respect what they don't even know? I'm speaking of ORR because if the child doesn't know, ORR doesn't know. So how can they respect it? The regulation goes on. It's a long ass reg. As long as unaccompanied children have timely access to all required services, different organizations could divide up the services provided. In some circumstances, the reg says another way to take care of the grantee, which would be the victim, like we're granting them service. So, we're so magnanimous that we're taking money from taxpayers to do this. Another way in which the grantee could ensure access to the program services would be for the child to notify the federal program office responsible for the grant if an unaccompanied child who has been informed of the available services may qualify for or be entitled to any program services, including referrals, to which the organization has a religious objection. It would then be the federal agency's responsibility to secure the provision of the needed services. It's not a service. It's fucking murder. HHS went on to say in their email that the federal regulation is the first regulation to comprehensively address the issues of sexual abuse and sexual harassment in Office of Refugee Resettlement Care Provider facilities nationwide. The standards build upon and enhance existing state and local laws, regulations, and licensing standards, and it must be complied with by June 24th of this year. June 24th of this year. I don't know. I'm pretty pissed. Okay, so I had this nice article all typed up, but I'm going to save that for when Bunny comes on the air because she had a very interesting comment about this on the FCC and net neutrality. So we're just going to hold on to that, and we'll wait for her. She'll be coming up in about a half hour. She'll be joining me. Secretary of State John Kerry, he tried to calm some tensions on Sunday. I'm sure he was making the talk show rounds, but he was trying to calm tensions with Israel before Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's congressional address, which is set for tomorrow. Netanyahu addressed AIPAC today, which is a pro-Jewish group here in the United States. I believe that was in New York, I think. May have been D.C., but I thought it was New York. Kerry insisted the Obama administration's diplomatic record with Iran entitles the U.S. to, quote, the benefit of the doubt as negotiators work toward a long-term nuclear deal. Now, if you've been listening to this show for a few weeks now, I've talked about Iran and their nukes a few times, and this is, it's not a secret that Kerry and Obama are capitulating faster than a yes man. They're folding like cheap chairs. Everything Iran wants, Iran is getting. Iran's blabbing their mouth about new facilities and missile facilities in Syria, and we're just giving them everything they ask for, every single thing they want. Kerry said in an interview before he left for Switzerland for more talks with Iran's foreign minister. I don't know why they call it negotiations or talks. They should call it capitulations, because that's all we're doing. But anyway, Kerry flew to Switzerland to meet with Iran's foreign minister, and he also said that Netanyahu was welcome to speak in the U.S., and that the administration did not want the event to be turned into some great political football. John Kerry, you're an idiot. The sentiment was a step back from some of the sharp rhetoric between the allies in recent weeks, and Kerry mentioned that he talked to Netanyahu as recently as the day before, on Saturday. But Kerry stressed that Israel was safer as a result of the short-term nuclear pact that world powers and Iran reached in late 2013, which, if you listened 2 weeks ago, you know is complete bullshit, because there was no such agreement. And he described that improvement as the standard we shall apply to any agreement with the Islamic Republic. John Kerry's a damn idiot. Oh, I can't say that often enough, but we got a show to do, so I have to. Officials describe the United States, Europe, Russia, and China as considering a compromise that would see Iran's nuclear activities severely curtailed for at least a decade, with the restrictions in U.S. and Western economic penalties eased in the final years of the deal. Kerry said, "We're going to test whether or not diplomacy can prevent this weapon from being created, so you don't have to turn to additional measures, including the possibility of a military confrontation." Look, this has got to be one of the two dumbest people that hold an office in D.C. Our Secretary of State and our President are complete idiots. I am completely now not conspiracy wired ready, but I am completely convinced that there is no way Obama makes all these decisions on his own. He's not smart enough. He and Kerry together have work to do just to be considered stupid. Okay, so Netanyahu arrived on Sunday. His press will press his opposition to a diplomatic accommodation. Blah 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 blah. The Republican invitation and Netanyahu's acceptance to speak in front of Congress have caused an uproar that has exposed tensions between Israel and the U.S., its most important ally. By consenting to speak, Netanyahu angered the White House, which was not consulted in advance, and Democrats, who were forced to choose between showing support for Israel and backing the president. They're boohooing. And we got the idiot from California, Dianne Franken-Feinstein, who said she will actually be attending Netanyahu's speech, but she said, quote, "I won't be jumping up and down like I expect a bunch of Republicans to do." What a bitch. I mean, really, I think that I hate to almost sound age discriminate, but, okay, I'm not going to be age discriminate. I think you should have to take a competency test. I don't care what age you are. If you want to serve in Congress, whether it's as a U.S. representative or as a senator, or be appointed to a cabinet post or an elected higher office, I think you should have to take a competency test to show that you're fit for office mentally, because we've got some winners out there on the Democratic side of the House. And hey, let me tell you, there's some on the Republican side of the House too. How stupid do you have to be to shoot yourself in a foot going into an election with a hot, item on the ticket? You come in there with a debate topic that is a touchy subject. You throw the gauntlet down and shoot yourself in the foot while doing it as a Republican. You're an idiot. Just like Hank Johnson, who thought Guam was going to tip over if the Navy went to one side of the island. Just like Sheila Jackson Lee, who stood in Congress as a freed slave. All right. Well, we're going to take a break for a minute here. I'm sure Mr. Producer's ready to run some commercials. We're at the bottom of the hour. Let's crank this up. We'll take in the next half hour, and then we'll welcome Politibunny to the show.
Oh, but ain't that America? For you and me, ain't that America? Something to see, baby. Ain't that America? Home of the free, yeah.
Tune into The Family Factor with Denny C. every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning at 5 a.m. as he looks at all the challenges facing the family today. Denny will give you a refreshingly new look at tackling some of the biggest issues. So start your day off on the right foot with Denny C. and The Family Factor, right here on K98Talk.com.
This is Misty, owner of Wax It Studio in Edmond, Oklahoma, and I'm here to talk to you about a skincare product called Theramedics. Theramedics has a wonderful line of products from anti-aging to hyperpigmentations all the way to acne. In fact, everyone at some point in our life is affected by acne. Acne can cause a great deal of embarrassment and anxiety, and in order to prevent and help other people, I have tapped into this wonderful product called Theramedics. Visit my website at www.prettyskindeep.com. Again, that's www.prettyskindeep.com.
If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
The feeling most people get when they hear a Barack Obama speech, I felt this thrill going up my leg. I don't have that too often.
Steady.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. Ricky Robinson, host of America Off the Rails, will tackle the important issues facing America today as he tries to keep America from coming off the track. Get ready to hear the truth every Monday through Friday starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, and on Saturdays at 12 p.m. Eastern and 11 Central here on K98Talk.com and the Spark Radio Network.
Something to see, baby. Ain't that America? Home of the free, yeah.
Welcome back. Okay, we're alive and kicking. Commercial break good? Yes, we are checking up. Okay, so we were talking about John Kerry and Netanyahu and Obama and the lunacy and the idiocy. A couple of weeks ago, I put a piece together based off of another piece, which was based off 2 other pieces about the constitutionality of Boehner extending the invitation to Netanyahu. There's absolutely nothing that prohibits it. So all that talk, and believe it or not, that talk was coming from conservative voices. So even Boehner's own party kind of tried to second guess him on this, but this is one of the few things that little Orange Johnny did right. So Netanyahu, he was quoted as saying that he's going to do everything in his ability to secure the future of Israel. He described himself as an emissary of the Jewish people. And even in Israel, though, there's been some criticism, but comes right on the, I guess, precipice of Netanyahu seeking re-election. That's on March 17th, by the way. So we're not talking very far away at all. He did speak at AIPAC today, as I was alluding to earlier. Netanyahu considers any deal that does not entirely end Iran's nuclear program unacceptable. And who can blame him? Who can blame him? Wow, some of the comments I'm seeing. Yeah, okay. Not blushing, but laughing for sure. Anyway, now, he considers that unacceptable, and rightly so. With missile bases in Syria and missile plant production in Syria, Iran would have a couple of different angles of attack. I'm not sure that even Israel's Iron Dome could protect them from all those different attack angles simultaneously. Last week, the nearly silent but often deadly National Security Advisor Susan Rice described the timing and partisan manner of Netanyahu's visit as destructive for U.S.-Israeli relations. But again, if you take that comment and you take the comments from the White House that Josh Earnest has made since this speech was announced, and you take Obama's words and you take Netanyahu's words and you take all that and roll it up together, Kerry, before he flew off, probably painted the most positive picture from the administration of continued cooperation between the U.S. and Israel, as there should be very close cooperation between us and them. He said our security partnership was closer than at any point before. I don't know that I agree with that, but that's the political line of BS that he has to spew. And noted the large investment of American money in the Jewish state's Iron Dome missile defense system. He said that the U.S. government has intervened on Israel's behalf in the last 2 years a couple of hundred times in order to protect Israel. I would very much, I wish I knew what those couple of hundred times over the last 2 years. That's an awful lot. I would like to Freedom of Information all couple hundred times to see what he's talking about, but I don't even have a clue as to what he's talking about. Maybe he's talking about when Obama threatened to shoot down Israeli jets. Oh, wait a minute, that was not helping Israel. And what the hell am I talking about, you say? Well, this actually goes back a little ways into 2014. President Obama actually threatened to shoot down Israeli planes if they were sent to bomb Iranian nuclear facilities. Now, this isn't gospel just yet. This is something that was attributed to a Kuwaiti newspaper. According to the website Israel National News, Al Jazeera reports that the alleged threat from the White House forced Prime Minister Netanyahu to cancel a planned attack. An Israeli minister on good relations with the Obama administration reportedly tipped Secretary of State John Kerry to the plan, and that Obama vowed to shoot down the planes when they crossed over U.S.-controlled airspace in Iraq. Al Jazeera quoted well-placed sources saying that Netanyahu, Minister of Defense Moshe Yaalon, and then Foreign Minister Lieberman made plans for airstrikes after consulting top commanders. In addition to the attacks, Netanyahu and his ministers decided to try to thwart any nuclear deal between the U.S. and Iran over fears that a nuclear Iran is a threat to Israel's existence. Israeli pilots reportedly trained for weeks on the mission and were able to fly into Iranian airspace without being detected by radar. Israel's fears of nuclear attack are not new. In 2007, an Israeli airstrike took out a suspected nuclear site in Syria. Going back further, an 81 airstrike took out a suspected nuke reactor in Iraq. Israel National News quoted a Daily Beast interview from 2009 in which former President Jimmy Carter's national security advisor Brzezinski urged Obama to take on any threat to Iran from Israel. Now, Brzezinski said they have to fly over our airspace in Iraq. Are we just going to sit there and watch? We have to be serious about denying them that right. That means a denial where you aren't just saying, if they fly over, you go up and confront them. They have the choice of turning back or not. Wow. Brzezinski even suggested no one wishes for this, but it could be a liberty in reverse. That was an allusion to an incident in the 1967 Six-Day War in which Israeli jets and torpedo boats attacked the USS Liberty in international waters. Israel later called the attack an incident of friendly fire. Now, Netanyahu is set to address that joint session of Congress tomorrow over the Iranian nuclear threat. Most of the Democrats have said they won't attend, and Obama has said he will not meet with the Prime Minister since the talk will occur 2 weeks from the Israeli elections. I got news for you, Mr. President. You shunning Prime Minister Netanyahu is only helping him with his election rebid. So take that and file it in your circle file there, sir. All right. And now we are, where are we? Oh, yeah? Really? We want to do that? Yeah, we can do that. Pardon me while I have a conversation amongst myself. If anything is piquing your interest, or if you have a topic you would rather discuss other than what I'm speaking on, feel free to give me a call at 408-681-8255. That's 408-681-8255. Now, it's going to be a busy week. On Wednesday, March the 4th, the day after Netanyahu addresses Congress, the fate of Obamacare will be in front of the Supreme Court again. At stake are the subsidies intended to make Obamacare plans affordable. Now, you may have read something about this, you may not have, but the way the law is written, the quote-unquote letter of the law, allows consumers to get subsidies, but the states have to set up their own exchanges for people in that state to get a subsidy. So we got 36 states that didn't set up state exchanges and 14 that did. And the Obama administration is ignoring and doling out these subsidies in all 50 states. So first he writes a law, and then he ignores his own law that he wrote. It's either sheer stupidity or it's blatant narcissism. He just thinks he's the king and he can do whatever the hell he wants. I don't know. We'll see. The administration claims that if the court rules against them in the King v. Burwell case, it will cause a national disaster. But let me tell you something. I wouldn't buy that, because the biggest losers in this whole thing are going to be the insurance companies if the court comes down against it. So let's take a look at how this can shake out and see who the winners and the losers are, and why a court loss for the Obama administration will likely produce a big win for the nation by forcing the president to negotiate with Congress. Look for big changes in the law in the second half of 2015. Maybe. Okay, let's take a look at the losers. Because no matter how the justices rule, this is going to have no impact on the poor. 9 out of every 10 people who gain coverage due to Obamacare are on Medicaid. Fact. A program that will be unaffected by this court case. There are no subsidies for Medicaid. So, here's where it gets it. The real losers are the approximately 5.5 million middle-class Americans that get these questionable subsidies, which let them pay only a fraction of their plan's actual cost. Taxpayers pick up 3/4, and if the court nixes those subsidies, it could cause the cost to quadruple, and people will have to look for other coverage. To avoid that disruption, Obama will have to negotiate with Republicans. Insurance companies lose because their stock prices have soared since the healthcare.gov rollout. Humana's up 66%, Cigna 53%, Aetna 52%. I wonder, in all these percentage increases, I wonder how much money they're kicking back to the administration or HHS to help fund all this crap. Or is all this just going to the shareholders? Back in the day, back before some of us were even born, insurance used to be a not-for-profit endeavor. The only thing that was paid for were insurance costs and some meager salaries for people that were almost volunteers in the field. Nobody was getting rich in insurance back in the 50s and the 60s. But hey, capitalism is a grand thing, and I will never begrudge anybody making money. Maybe how they make money, but I will never begrudge them making money. But anyway, Obamacare forces the public to buy their policies. Humana and Cigna and Aetna and Blue Cross. And, it's like a law requiring all Americans to buy cars, subsidizing those who can't pay. That would send stocks for Detroit automakers skyrocketing too. Just so you get an idea of what this is like. Insurers have bombarded the Supreme Court justices with arguments defending this great deal. Some more losers in this deal, possibly. Governor Chris Christie and other swing state Republicans twice vetoed bills to set up a state exchange, but some 180,000 New Jerseyans are signed up for subsidies on healthcare.gov. The governor is keeping quiet about what to do right now. Most governors in the 36 states that didn't set up exchanges are Republicans. Some are standing firm against the establishing of a state exchange, while a few are signaling their readiness to make a deal with Obama. And then there's, Gruber. Then there's Gruber, who got caught in a lie again. The low-level, coffee-fetching Obamacare architect told federal judges that there was no question subsidies were intended for all 50 states, but he was caught on tape twice in 2012, warning that states without their own exchanges would miss out on the subsidies. So that covers the group of losers. Now let's take a look at some of the people that are going to be winners if this thing comes down the way Republicans are hoping it will. First on the winners list, the uninsured in those 36 states. The law slaps the uninsured with a yearly penalty, 1% of adjusted gross income in 24, 2%, I'm sorry, what did I say? in 2014, and 2% in 2015. If subsidies are eliminated, so are penalties. And this, folks, is exactly why I have encouraged people going all the way back to the very first mentions of this, back before I was ever a part of Twitter, when I was out there on Facebook slugging it out. I encouraged people to not sign up, that there were other options available. And I am right, and I stand by that. And if you don't know about other options and feel like you're forced to sign up through an exchange, you and I need to have a conversation, because I'm sure there is somebody in your area that can connect you with a plan that meets the qualifications and is not through the government. Accountants, if subsidies are eliminated, accountants are also losers. Sorry, we should have thrown them up in the other category. The absurdly complicated requirements to avoid the penalty are an H&R Block full employment bill. Employers with 50 or more full-time workers.
Call from Sam. To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2. To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
All right, Miss Sam, are you there?
I am here.
All right, you are on with Grouchy. I'm going to go back to being quiet now.
Fan-freaking-tastic.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Politibunny, Sam Janney, to the program.
Hello?
Sam.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just great. How the hell are you?
I'm awesome. How the hell are you?
If I was any better, I'd be bottled and sold.
Okay.
That may or may not be legal, sir.
No, that's probably not legal. I would exceed the proof limits for states, I'm sure. Sam, it is fantastic to have you on. You and I have chatted several times over the last year and a half or so. You're, what's the word I'm looking for? Inspirational.
Evil. Oh, thanks. Inspirational. I don't usually get that. I get the other evil, conniving, dastardly.
Now, look, there's no denying, Sam. You are a super nice person, but very much like myself, you also have an edge, and
yeah.
God help the ones that scrape the edge the wrong way.
Well, and I think that is something to be said for a lot of people, conservatives who have found their voices in social media. I think that is almost necessary at this point to even be heard because of the noise out there that you hear from the left. And, to even compete, we have to just be larger than life, to be honest with you, because I don't think otherwise people will hear us.
Well, and I agree with that, and that goes to a bigger picture. I don't know if you have had the opportunity to read Kurt Schlitter's book, Conservative Insurgency, but he actually talks about how the conservative core has got to maybe get their boxers out of a bind and start reaching out to people that are largely conservative but might have some ideas that are a little alternative to the country club Republicans.
I think what we're running into, and I think a lot of it is Generation X. I think you see a lot of Gen X in the conservative movement, and that, there's this ideal that supposedly us conservatives were all these rich old white dudes, sitting around kicking orphans and eating puppy dogs. And, I'm sorry, wait, that's a Democrat, but we'll go back to that later. But the point is, they have this stereotype of what a conservative is, and then when you break that stereotype, either you make the left angry or you can even make the right angry. I know I piss people off on both sides of the realm. I just do. And I think it's necessary because otherwise, we always talk about the left putting people in little buckets, but there are some people on the right who do the same damn thing.
You are absolutely right. Thank you for saying that. I am a believer in individualism, and it's not a crime or a sin or anything like that. Be who you are, love who you are, and respect others for the same thing.
Yeah, I think we can do that. And I think what we really have to work on, when we have events where gay conservatives aren't invited to speak about being gay conservatives or having a booth somewhere that shall remain nameless, but, when we have a large gathering where we cut out a sect of people because of some notion that gays aren't good enough for the conservative movement, we still have a really big problem with what we're doing. And for me, I found this out about the event. I was very angry about that event, that we would deliberately shut out a group of people who are very powerful voices for us because we somehow feel justified in saying they're not right for that. Does that make sense? I was furious when I found that out, because really we need to embrace and accept all people into the movement if we want to make a difference and change things in this country. And we're failing at that.
Absolutely. And not just with gays, but let's kick it to the other side of the aisle and go a little further outside of the boundary. And let's talk about some of those quote unquote hippie pot smokers out there that have all these wild libertarian ideas and
damn hippies.
We just need to
damn hippies, take a shower.
Yeah, we saw enough of that at Occupy Wall Street, did we not?
Yeah, I'm going to throw bars of soap at them. No, I think libertarians, I think we can work together, but I think, and for me, I have a really hard time with their agenda and their platform because I kind of feel like they're all over the board sometimes, and I need a little more directness. And it's been good because some of the libertarians out there have been like, well, we are pro-life, and here's why. And then others have said, no, we're pro-choice, and here's why. And for me as a conservatarian, the whole pro-choice, pro-life thing is what keeps me in the conservative corner, to be honest with you, because I need that. I need to know people are fighting with me to protect the unborn, and that's a huge part of what I care about.
Absolutely.
But I think we have to find a way to work with them, because if we don't, the left will find a way to do it.
Yeah, they will. And I've actually said before, and let me get your opinion on this because I value your opinion.
I value your opinion. Thanks. So go ahead.
I've often said that if it came down to a slugfest in Congress, that I would rather be able to fight with Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi instead of John Boehner and Mitch McConnell. And the reason is that Reid and Pelosi will stop at nothing to win. And it seems like Boehner and McConnell will stop anywhere to keep from winning.
They really know how to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, don't they? And this is something we're going to hear about in the next, year and a half. I can't believe it's only a year and a half. We're really going to hear about how it's imperative that Republicans back whoever wins the primary and that we have to all be on board. But when you have someone like a McConnell or someone like a Boehner or someone like Ted Cochran, when you're dealing with those kinds of establishment guys, just because there's an R in front of their name doesn't mean they're the right guy for the job anymore. And unfortunately, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at these big government progressives who call themselves Republicans, when they're just progressives, just like the other side.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would love to give Pelosi a big punch in the throat. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Good fight.
That would be good. I'd like to see that.
Yeah. I think I could sell tickets to that. That'd be pretty good. You know, I'm a capitalist. Whatever way I can make some money off a pensioner, I would do it. That works for me.
And, you know, I don't know if you were listening prior, but just a few minutes before you came on, I was actually talking about how I support anybody making money. You know, it may be as long as it's ethical. And I don't have a problem with fighting as an ethical way of making money.
No, I think if you're talking about, well, I don't know if she'd be willing. It's called consent. If I'm just beating on someone to make money, maybe not ethical. But I agree. You know, I think capitalism is healthy, and I think the problem is we've been made to feel like we should feel guilty if we want to raise money or if we want to be wealthy, that there's something wrong with that. And I'm sorry, I call horseshit all over that. I think that as capitalists and greedy Republicans, I think that's part of what we want to work for because it's success. And we believe every person has the ability to be successful if they work hard enough. So no more vilifying making money and being wealthy. I think that's a great thing. Sorry, I just do.
I absolutely couldn't agree more. Especially, you know, I don't bring it up a whole lot, but as somebody that is technically multiracial, you know, I've done okay for myself. I served in the military for 10 years.
I don't know, man. You know, the left tells us if you're not just a white dude, you don't have a chance, and that we need to make all these different rules for you because, you know, apparently if you're not just a white person, you're not smart enough or you're not hardworking enough or, you know, they want to save you from yourself because you're just not capable. That must really piss you off.
It must be terrible for me because this 3-bedroom, 2-bath, you know, I don't know. It's a humble home, but it's mine.
You're being held down. The white man is holding you down. Sorry, that's just the reality of you being multiracial.
Oh, this is fantastic.
That is so stupid. How do you think they took that and go, I can't believe I just said that crap? You know, when you're talking about like voter ID and you're like, you know, people who are black or people who are Hispanic or anybody out there can get a voter ID. It's not that hard. And they're like, you're being racist and oppressing people. Like they're incompetent and they can't get a voter ID. Do you think they ever just go, wow, that was some stupid shit I just said?
Yeah. I mean, you know, they managed to get 80 million people in South Africa voter IDs. I think we could probably swing it here.
It's just too hard here. You know, our what is it? Let's see. What should we call it? Well, racism, you know, everything is racism, and that is keeping people back from voter ID. And for us to expect people to have a voter ID as us being racist, or are we being bigots? I can never keep it straight, Grouch. Which is it?
You know, we're I don't know, we're racial bigots. I don't know.
Oh, come on, Grouchy, you're thinking too small.
This is Islamophobe.
We're white privileged, bigoted, racist homophobes. That basically sums us all up.
There you go. Rick's got a good one there. I like that.
Is that Rick? Rick, is you allowed Rick to be on your show? Rick?
Technically, I'm running the board, so he can't really get rid of me.
Sam, yeah, Rick is Mr. Producer on my show.
Oh boy!
So
you know,
he does his show. He actually does America Off the Rails, sends it into commercial break, and then we hit the button and switch everything over, and we go live into my show right after his.
Well, that's awesome. You know, and I don't think people understand how much actually goes into doing these things. And I know we're totally off topic. I just do that. That's who I am. But what you guys are doing with the internet radio and what we do over on my station or whatever, there's so much work that goes into it, and it's just, you guys make it sound effortless.
Yeah, thank you. We're gonna shine that one up, Rick. You need to take that piece of tape and bronze it and have it mounted.
Actually, I'm already grabbing it as a sound clip. I'm going to hold on to that thing forever.
Oh, great.
Look,
here's Bunny saying how superior we are. Yeah, kill me. No,
hey, well, if Bunny says it's got to be true, right? I mean, come on now.
Well, and that's it. And I know that Sam actually not too long ago made the foray back into Facebook. I know what happened the first time. I've heard the story. Look, it's great. I started there, and because of the way they manage their the reach of their posts, I became so frustrated. I just decided, okay, I'm just going to try Twitter and see what happens. And I was very lucky. Sam, you were probably among the first 200 followers that I had. You were one of them, and I've been tagged onto your timeline. It keeps me entranced at times. I don't think that there's a whole lot that we would disagree on politically, or even in the social realm. I'm sure that something would come up. I don't hawk your threads, so I'm not stalking you or anything like that constantly.
Right.
I'm sure there would be something that we disagreed on, but
yeah, go ahead.
Mean, even our candidates at this point, I know you're a big Walker fan, and I am too. I have been for actually since before the recall. I was hoping he would run.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
he's the reason I got involved, and to be honest with you, is because of watching him deal with the sludge of the left in Wisconsin, and watching him just witnessing how disgusting and awful and ugly these people were inspired me to fight for him, because he was just getting inundated. And the dude has won 3 times in 4 years. They can't beat him. I think he's great.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. 3 times in 4 years is pretty strong, especially in, I guess, what would be, even though it shows red on the map with Walker as governor, but that's really a purplish state, I would think, and if not purple, even more blue than red.
It's really blue. We lived in Wisconsin for about 5 years. My daughter was born there, and our neighbor, we lived in a really cute little town, in an old house, and our neighbor brought his kids on Halloween. He dressed I think his kid was like 8, as a soldier, and the soldier was all beat up and bloody, and it said "Bush sent me to war" on his costume. He was 8. And this is my neighbor, and I was furious with him, but I didn't want the kid to be embarrassed. So I gave the kid, candy, but right. I took everything I had not to punch him square in his face. That is who those people are, and
I would have had to
they're
do that
very,
later.
very blue.
Yeah, that would have, the punch would have happened. It just would have happened not around the kids. You did good holding yourself, because I would have not have been
It was hard.
kind.
It was really hard. And, we were close enough to Madison where we really saw it was really blue there. When my husband and I were going to a Badger game, and he is more conservative than I am. And there were all these people, and they were jogging, and they were had all this anti-Bush stuff on them, and my husband waves at them, and they're all waving and cheering, and he flipped them the bird, and they got really mad. That is what we were there as red in that blue state. So I know what Walker's dealing with. I think that's why I relate to him so much.
Well, he's definitely shown himself to be a stud. They say Rand Paul actually took the CPAC straw poll over Walker, who finished a close second. But Walker's really shown himself to be a powerhouse so far. So let's hope that momentum holds. And I like the Walker train.
I heard a rumor that Rand has been bussing people in for 3 years to CPAC. And if that's the case, then in my little opinion, Walker won. But as far as I understand it, yes, Rand won.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get hate tweets for that, but that's okay, because I understand Rand has a very solid base. And I'm not saying I wouldn't support Rand. I think Rand is great compared to the Bushes and the Christies and the Santorums and the other people who make our party look stupid. I probably could get behind Rand before I could get behind them. But Walker, yeah, he's my choice.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. So tomorrow, you tuning in for Bibi's speech?
Yes, sir. I will be listening to Bibi's speech. I can't wait to. And basically, I think Bibi's very inspiring, and it's fun to watch someone who's actually a leader of his country, who loves his country, and who is fighting for his country. We are so without that in ours. So I look forward to that, but I also look forward to the literal head pops that are going to happen in the left, and I can't wait to watch them all explode at once. I'm looking forward to that, actually.
Well, yeah, apparently a lot of the Democrats are either going to not show, or some of them are actually planning to show and then do a walkout on them. Because it's so stupid. Doesn't it seem petty that our president is so insecure and intimidated by this man that he would go to this little base and cry about it, and they're going to throw a temper tantrum because he's a big pissy baby? Yep. What does that say about the leadership in this country? How embarrassing is that we have a president who is so wrapped up and insecure that he would basically fuel that behavior and embarrass us all? Well, I actually 2 weeks ago on my program, I actually made the comment that as far as leadership is concerned, Obama couldn't lead flies to a fresh pile of dog shit. So.
Oh, but flies love him. Haven't you seen all the photos of him with flies all over him? For whatever reason, every time he's somewhere, the flies find him. But I agree with you. I don't think he could lead his way out of a wet paper bag. So, yeah, it should be interesting. I can't wait to watch. And even Bibi today, and I did look up because I'm like, we might talk about that. I better make sure I know what I'm talking about. He talked about he was not here to disrespect the president, and that, he felt that America and Israel are still strong allies and that there's a future. But then, you read the articles about that Obama may have fired or threatened to fire on jets if they were taking out Iran's nukes, and it's just a mess.
Yeah, actually, we just went over that story, as a matter of fact, a few minutes before your call. And that story is originating out of a Kuwaiti paper. So I'm still vetting that out, but it was an Israeli paper that took it upon themselves to go and interview the writer of the Kuwaiti article, and then they republished. So I'm thinking there's a little something to it at least, but I'm still looking to vet this thing out all the way. What a slap in the face to relations that would be if that's true.
Well, and I appreciate you vetting it, because when I saw it, I'm like, there's no way this is true. This can't. I mean, you think that all the time with this administration. You're like, okay, wow, this can't be real, and then it is. And then you think, oh, my gosh, I can't believe they went that far, and then they do. So I'm really hoping you vet this and you go, oh, Bunny, this was not true, or it was something taken out of context, because that, to me, that is probably one of the worst things that this administration has done. And that's for the lot, considering all the crap they've pulled.
Yeah. Yeah. That,
So I have a question for you. And I don't know how often your guests do this to you, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
You fire away.
So when they take us to the FEMA camp, Grouch, are you going to wear the orange flip flops or the blue flip flops? Because there's a choice when you get to the FEMA camp of the flip flops you can wear. And I want to make sure that we all stay connected when we get to the FEMA camp, so we can still talk and have fun. So what are your plans, orange or blue?
That's an interesting question. If I had to pick, I would probably take the orange, and that's because I'm a Miami Hurricane fan. But
I hate decisions. I'd go with one of each.
What are you, a Gator fan? Auburn fan?
No, I just hate decisions, so I'd have to go with one each. Hey, before you guys get any further, give me just 1 second. We're going to go ahead and invoke commercial free for the rest of the show, guys. So I do have to give a shout out real quick to one of our sponsors. That is Rolling on the Floor, laughingmybuttoff.com. Really easy website to find. Put a www and a dot. First letter of each one of those words right in behind that, then a .com. You'll be right there. I don't know about you guys, but being the general manager of a radio station, talk show host, always got my head buried in the news, always talking about or hearing about things that really typically kind of piss you off. Occasionally you do need a laugh. So if you're anything like me, make sure you go there, check it out. Often they do add new content every day. And we will now be commercial free for the rest of the show to give Grouchy and Bunny more time to talk. I'm going to go shut up again now. Back to the show.
Yeah. I thought he said something about shutting up before, didn't he, Sam?
Hey, I resemble that remark. Shush.
Did you say laughing my butt off? It's lmbo.com.
Rolling on the floor, laughingmybuttoff.com. It's ROTFLMBO.
Oh, I have to think about that. Well, that's a cool sponsor. That makes sense for your station.
There you go.
And I think that's a good point. Because conservatives, we sometimes forget that it's okay to laugh and have a sense of humor. We're so busy taking ourselves too seriously. So I think that's a brilliant sponsor. I'm going to totally take it, dude.
Absolutely.
Sweet. It's now money endorsed. I'm going to have to grab that too.
So here we go. We got to go back because, Sam, you mentioned the FEMA camp. And I have to tell you, back before my Twitter days, when I was just a Facebook kid, I actually had somebody send me a map of the United States that had grid coordinates of where these camps were. And one of them is actually not too far from me. So
how nice. How convenient.
Well, I went to look. I wanted to see. And Sam, I went to the grid coordinates that this FEMA camp was at, and there was this railroad that looks like the Irish and the Chinese put it down 140 years ago. It was overgrown, rusted. The timbers were falling out from under it. It was all wooded, just big leafy southern pines, nothing else around. There wasn't even a tent, let alone any kind of structure to funnel people through. And I pretty much washed my hands of the FEMA camps at that point. And I mean, here we are a year and a half later, and you bring up a FEMA camp. I'm like, what the hell?
Well, you know, it's one of those things, and when I'm on my show, I joke about how the NSA listens. And pretty soon here with the FCC getting involved, so much of this may change when you're able to stay. And so you got to keep it light and joke about the FEMA camps. But I'm telling you, if they decide they're really going to put us in, I'll be one of the first they stick in there. Because, you know, I think that I think I'm far too honest anymore. And I'm going to get in trouble eventually. So I'm just wondering, because you're of the same mind. So, you know, if you're going to be in the same camp, I'm hoping we don't wear the same color flip-flops because it could get really confusing. So if you go with orange, I'll go with blue.
Wow. Are we going to be allowed to keep our cell phones?
What was that?
Are we going to be allowed to keep our cell phones in the camps?
They'll all be traded in for Obama phones, sir.
All be traded in for Obama phones.
No, I do not want an Obama phone. I have an iPhone 6. These are white girl problems. I can never take a picture with my iPhone 6 because it's so damn big. So, no, they can't have my phone.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, before the show, we were chatting out there on Twitter, and you actually had a comment, and I heard you bring up the FCC and talking about the regulations of what we may or may not be able to say. You had a unique comment for the FCC, did you not?
Oh, you mean the comment that I asked you if I could say on your show?
Yeah.
That whole fuck the FCC thing? Can I say fuck the FCC on your show? Because I don't know, because if I say fuck the FCC and you get in trouble, I'd really feel bad for saying fuck the FCC.
Fuck them.
Was I supposed to say that? Was that okay to say fuck the FCC?
Joke them if they can't take a fuck.
That's right.
It's kind of like when I did, Stephen Hamilton does the show, Getting Hammered, on Friday night. And he had me on right after I left my last station. And there were a few things on my last station that I was not supposed to say. And it wasn't that they were trying to censor. It was just some things they weren't comfortable with. And they knew, dealing with me, that I probably would say something I wasn't supposed to. And so, every time I would talk, I would say vagina, because I wasn't supposed to say vagina a whole lot. So I said vagina like 30 times on his show. So now I've said fuck on your show about 12 times. So, we're golden. There you go.
Well, Well, hey, with everything I told you about what happened on Red Wine the other night, I mean, it just fits right in. So why not?
You know, Red Wine talked about cock rings, and I have never talked about a cock ring on my show. So I'm feeling a little less than, because usually I'm one of the first ones to offend somebody. And I totally dropped the ball on the whole cock ring thing. So I have to give a shout out to the Red Wine, baby.
Yeah, Diane said they actually had them right next to the toothbrushes in Target.
Oh, Lord.
I kid you not.
Where is her Target?
In Target.
There's no way. Where is her Target? I'm sorry. There's no way.
Are you in the market for something there?
Oh, God. I knew that was coming. But no, and I said that. You know what? Here's the thing with me, is sometimes I deliberately say stuff, just to be obnoxious, and then I'll say something really stupid that I didn't mean to be obnoxious, and it gets taken that way, and I get that's what she said, But no, I was just like, where is there a Target where you can go get a toothbrush and a cock ring in the same aisle? I just don't.
On the same aisle, yeah. That's fantastic.
Was it from Las Vegas? San Francisco? I mean, where was this Target?
And we've
Wow.
got Heidi listening. She's like, you guys are killing me.
Heidi is so good. I love Heidi. Hi, Heidi.
I know it. She is pure gold.
The scary thing about them being on the same aisle, that typically most grocery stores set things like that up because they're considered an impulse buy. So I'm more curious to find out what people are doing with the cock rings that they've had to put toothbrushes right next to them.
What I was wondering is if it was the battery-powered
I'm going to grab one. No. Oh my gosh, it's some dental floss. Oh, look, cock rings are on sale this week. I can't get one. No.
Which did you need? Which did they need first, the toothbrush or the cock ring? I'm just curious.
It's a good point. I'm like, I really like this one. Oh, look, toothbrushes, rock on. It makes no sense to me.
Oh,
I have to find her and talk to her, find out where this Target was. Not because I'm in the market, thank you, but I need to know if this really happens.
Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do, Sam.
Radio.
Okay, hang on a second, guys. I don't mean to cut in again, but I noticed that neither one of you are in the chat. We have somebody in the chat room that asked if I think he's asking if we know whether or not the cock rings were fluoridated. I'm not sure.
Are fluoridated?
I'm
totally not online. Fluoridated. Yes, they absolutely are. It's a federal regulation now that they have to be fluoridated. Here you go. Oh, boy.
I thought those were the
they put fluoride in everything else. I mean, why not?
Cock ring regulations. I'm not going to hear the end of this. Wow. And see, now I'm going to hear, no, someone's going to say that's dirty because I said I'm not hearing the end of the cock ring thing. There's going to be that's what she said. And I didn't even mean it in any way, but it's going to be that way. That's just like my lot in Twitter life.
Oh, well, you know what you can always do, Sam, is you can always just tell them to go play in the damn traffic.
I often tell them to do things with power tools. I like playing traffic as well. You tell them to blindfold themselves and go play in traffic, but then they get really upset. Not as upset as when you tell them to go shove a power tool somewhere inconvenient, but that does work. That does.
Yeah. Good grief. My iPad is acting up. I'm trying to actually cue something for Sam here, and it's not letting me. Oh, you have got to be kidding.
Oh, now Heidi's talking about vagina and cock rings. Come on, you guys. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, okay.
I have mine up, but it's like...
Mr. Producer, I'm going to take a shot in the dark and assume that you're trying to cue this. Or, yeah, hang on just a second.
Actually, I've got it now. Yes, that is the power tool of choice for Politibunny, in case you didn't know.
The chainsaw thing, if I don't eventually, with this whole radio stick, get a chainsaw company as a sponsor, I have failed. You know this.
Actually, I do, and maybe not a chainsaw company per se, but how about a power tool company that also provides chainsaws? Already thinking about you, okay? Your agent has things under control.
That's right, Grouch. I'm going to make you my agent. I need one so bad. That works.
And
we can take over the whole country.
In certain circles, Grouch, they have another word for agent. Starts with a B, rhymes with witch.
Oh,
I would never.
Really?
Should we call Grouch a bitch? We shouldn't probably do that on the air. You know, I'm going to have, and just so you guys know what's going to happen, is when I get off the phone here, I'm going to have all these tweets saying, conservative women shouldn't talk like that. And I'm not going to say a word to you guys, even though you're the ones who brought up bitch and cock rings. I'm going to be the one that is getting shamed somewhere for saying those things.
Let me go out on a limb here and say that if anybody is listening that has a problem with what's being said on this radio program, don't direct your comments to Bunny because she is a conservative. You can direct your comments to me. It's my show, and I will take your brunt. If that's what you want to bring it. I can handle it. Leave her alone.
Oh, but you know, this is one of the funny things, and I think it's something we really need to work on, getting away from the whole cock ring thing, is this notion that women or conservative women are a certain way. And I can't tell you how many times I've talked to a conservative, and it's usually an older gentleman, who will say something like, you know, you're far too pretty to talk that way, or nice girls don't talk like that, or, you know, that's not ladylike, or I have trolls who love to talk about how I'm not a conservative because I use the F word. So I think beyond the funnies of, hey, bring it, because I agree, bring it on, I could care less. We have to work on that because that whole judgmental, sanctimonious attitude hurts us more than it helps us. And,
you know, what is it anyway? It's a word. Who gets to deem whether a word is a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, you'd be surprised how many people get their panties in a bunch over certain words, and how people troll me just because of a certain word I've used, and they'll copy my tweets into screencasts and keep them and build websites about them. I mean, that is how absolutely ridiculous some people on the right have become. And I think that it's something that we have to be willing to address openly and tell them that's not okay.
Yeah,
and it goes beyond just me. It's just in general how we think people have to be a certain way to fit into the conservative message, and we're going to lose so many people by doing that.
You're absolutely right. And Sam, I don't want to abuse your time because I know it's precious. Your schedule is explodingly demanding. But
more, it's getting there, yeah.
Yeah, I know. And as much as I would love to hold you over, I'm not going to force that issue. But Sam, you are welcome here anytime. And you don't need a special invite. I will drop agenda to make time for you.
Oh, Grouchy, you need to come on my show. And I'm not trying to use your show to push my show, but I think it would be great that I extend that same invitation to have you on the air as well. And, you know, I know we try as personalities to bring on the big wigs, but I also think it's really important to talk to each other and so my audience can get to know you and vice versa, because you know what, the bigger our audiences get, the more they talk and the bigger the movement gets. So exactly, I really appreciate having me on. This has been fun.
Hey, Sam, we appreciate it. Tell everybody where they can find you out there before you run off.
You can find me on Twitter at Politibunny, that's Politibunny. I'm also on Facebook. It's actually GOP Bunny, which is a long story, but I am on there. And you can also find me and things I write and podcasts on polititainment.net.
And there you go. And your show airs what nights? Thursdays, right?
Oh, the show? Yeah, Unapologetically Bunny is on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern on the 405.
On the 405. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Politibunny, Sam Janney, because she
thanks, guys.
has put on a performance.
And in case you do miss her live, you can also catch her here every Friday evening at 7. She's on right after me.
Kaboom. How about that?
Hold on. I'm sorry. I told you, I wasn't sure for what night the podcast was on. And yes, you guys have been so good to me on K98 Talk. I can't tell you. Thank you for having me on as a podcast and helping me share my show. You guys rock. And I'm so excited for what you guys are doing. And I have to say I'm just proud of what you're doing, and I'm glad to have been on your show. I really appreciate it.
Sam, thank you so much. Love you, girl. You take care, and I'll talk to you soon.
I'll see you out in the Twitter share, and I'll see you in the Target. I'll get in that cock ring. All right, take care.
All right. Hey, not blushing yet.
I think we might need a webcam for verification of that, sir.
I would be willing to provide it. I have no feelings to be hurt, so I have no reason to lie about it. Laughing, yes. Blushing, no. So anyway, man, what a spot. What a spot. Tell you what, that Sam, what a great person. So, yeah, you know, we were talking about Scott Walker a little bit there, and I don't know if Sam has actually seen this or not yet, but the Democrats have taken up arms already against Walker. The DNC is already asking supporters in emails and handwritten letters to, quote unquote, stop Scott Walker. And they have this picture of Walker, and it says Scott Walker compared Wisconsin workers to terrorists. And then underneath it, it has a quote from Walker that says, if I can take on 100,000 protesters, I can do the same with Islamic terrorists. I don't see the correlation. You know, that's not comparing Wisconsin workers to terrorists. That's saying, if I can do one thing, I can do the other thing. Wasserman Schultz, you know, I hate talking about how somebody looks because they can't really help a lot of that. People are born the way they're born, and they don't get to pick their names, and they don't get to pick their features. But she just looks like she smells like a wet beagle wrapped in 3-day-old olive loaf. I just don't get her. And she stands up and she makes all these calls to action in reference to the remarks that Walker made at CPAC a few days ago. And, you know, wow. He made the comment, I want a commander-in-chief who will do everything in their power to ensure that the threat from radical Islamic terrorists does not wash up on American soil. Why is that so radical? Why does that make him such a bad person? Apparently, these words alone were reason enough for the Democrats to launch an anti-Walker campaign already. We're not even to primary season yet. You know, we're just talking about people that are putting campaigns together and hiring managers, and a lot of people that are speaking at CPAC and that are going to be at Right Online, and that are going to be at the Southern Republican Leadership Conference, which is going to be in Mr. Producer's hometown of Oklahoma City coming up later this summer. You know, a lot of these people haven't declared their intentions yet. They're just making politically charged speeches, and they're trying to use his words to drum up money, I guess, for what's supposed to be Hillary's big run. I can't even imagine this country under Hillary after 8 years of Obama. I think Obama has done not only damage to himself, but to the Democrat brand. And I think that showed in the past midterm we just had. And if he continues on his path and Republicans can avoid, as I mentioned earlier, shooting themselves in the foot, I think the Republicans can take even more seats in 2016 in Congress. So, you know, that's just something to think about. We've got the whole thing going on with Iran, still with the nuke program. You know, we had another development that we didn't get to earlier in part of that piece, but we'll go ahead and address it now. You've got Democrats in Congress that are pretty pissed about these negotiations being extended and extended and extended. And yeah, we're in the third extension of these negotiations, or should I say capitulations, with Iran on the nuke program. But Obama even went so far as to tell Senator Bob Menendez and the donors he represents to butt out of the sanctions debate. You know, he wants Republicans to quit crying wolf about Iran's nuclear weapons program. How is it crying wolf when they're standing in front of TV cameras? And this is, this is the Ayatollah. This is, what the hell is his name? I can't even remember his name. It'll come to me in a minute. Don't worry. We'll keep going. But they stand up in Iran and go on TV and they talk about how they want to wipe Israel off the face of the earth and then adjust their attention after that to the U.S. allies of Europe. And then after that, us. And yet Obama's over there giving in to all their demands, getting nothing in return. And Hillary's preaching about how we should empathize and how we should try to understand them. Obama said he wants the media to stop hyping terror threats. I don't know anybody that hypes terror threats. Even the crappiest of networks, when it comes to a terror threat alert, when I've seen their reports, it's been pretty simple and matter of fact. Terror alert has been raised. Boom. Terror level this. There was a threat made here by this person or these people, by this group. He wants the American people in the dark is what he wants. He wants us in the dark about the secret correspondence he's had for years with Iran's supreme leader. He wants Boehner to be more mindful of protocol and be submissive to him. And most of all, he wants Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to stop questioning his accommodationist approach to Tehran. Now, Obama has this, what was called in a newspaper article, breezy confidence. I call it brazen arrogance. That is his trademark. The president has repeatedly delivered a reassuring message on Iran to the country and to the world. Trust me, with respect, Mr. President, no, we don't trust you. From the earliest moments of his term, our president has sought to convince the country that threats from our enemies were overblown. He forged an effort or an approach of an effort to jihadist attacks and these rogue regimes meant to be a stark contrast from that of President Bush. He ended the war on terror, allegedly, quietly sought rapprochement with radical Islamist movements like the Muslim Brotherhood, the Mother Brotherhood. Yeah, what an idiot I am here. First night of 2 hours, folks. Cut me some slack. The Muslim Brotherhood and the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. And he ostentatiously undertook a more conciliatory approach to terror-sponsoring regimes like Syria and Iran. I'm really starting to believe that this man's quote from his book about standing with the Muslims when the political winds change isn't just BS that he put in a book. Notwithstanding some periodic drone strikes on some bad guys, Obama has demonstrated over and over that his instinct is to ignore, dismiss, or downplay threats to the U.S. and its interests and allies. The record over 6 years is a long list of mistaken judgments, awkward euphemisms, and false assurances. So when Nidal Hasan opened fire at Fort Hood, it wasn't a terrorist attack, but it was workplace violence. When Omar Farouk Abdul Muttalib tried to blow up Northwest Airlines flight over Detroit, he was an isolated extremist. And when Faisal Shahzad, the underwear bomber, attempted to detonate an SUV in Times Square 5 months later, it was a one-off attack. And when jihadists attacked the U.S. diplomatic compound in Benghazi, Libya, it was simply a protest over a YouTube video gone awry. We all remember that. The problem in each one of these instances wasn't just that the descriptions were incorrect. It's that the administration knew they were wrong, made the false claims anyway, and damned anybody that stood up and tried to challenge them on it. Numerous eyewitnesses report Nidal Hasan shouting Allahu Akbar as he shot, according to court documents. Abdul Muttalib confessed that he had been trained and dispatched by Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. That's AQAP for those of you scoring at home with all the acronyms. A full 3 days before Obama publicly labeled him an isolated extremist. The administration was aware that the Pakistani Taliban had claimed responsibility for Shahzad even before he attempted his bombing. And top intelligence officials on the ground in Libya reported that Al-Qaeda-affiliated terrorists participated in the attacks, and there was no demonstration about the YouTube video in Benghazi. Damn it. When are we going to wake up? In the year before the 2012 election, Obama and his administration and campaign officials routinely claimed that Al-Qaeda was on the run or on the path to defeat or decimated. But if that were the case, why are they so strong now, and why are we having to go back and fight them again? It seems to me there was a man. Oh, what was his name? He sat in this kind of oblong-shaped office up there on Pennsylvania Avenue in D.C. The Oval Office. Yeah, President Bush. That was him, George W. Bush. He actually made some comments about what would happen if we pulled out of the Middle East too quickly. And I don't have the audio. God, I wish I did, because this is completely off the cuff right now. But the audio is so eerily prophetic to what's happening right now. Bush said if we pulled out too early that we were going to have to go back and fight them again, and that it was going to be a bigger and stronger group when we did it. By God, he's right. Look at that. The Defense Intelligence Agency regularly provided Obama with detailed assessments showing that the opposite of his claims were true.
I have the clip if you want me to play it. It just took me a second to find it.
Oh my God, yeah. Play that clip, Mr.
I'm
Producer.
pretty sure this is it. I'm pretty sure this is the one because I've used it before and it sounds...
George Bush predicting the future.
Okay, just one sec. We'll get it queued up.
If American forces were to step back from Baghdad before it is more secure, a contagion of violence could spill out across the entire country. In time, this violence could engulf the region. The terrorists could emerge from the chaos with a safe haven in Iraq to replace the one they had in Afghanistan, which they used to plan the attacks of September the 11th, 2001. For the safety of the American people, we cannot allow this to happen.
Boom. It's that simple, people. He warned about it. It was ignored. And look at us now. And yet, this administration will sit there and tell you that the methods of George W. Bush were wrong. They should have never been engaged. And that he's doing the right thing. Now, Lieutenant General Mike Flynn, the former director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, after he was forced out of his job a year early, was asked if the terrorists were defeated. And he said, we have to say no. And anyone who answers yes to that question either doesn't know what they're talking about, they're misinformed, or they're flat out lying, or all three. People, there's very little question that the administration misrepresented what it knew about our jihadist enemies, and we do have jihadist enemies, regardless of what this administration says. It's also quite clear that the administration chose to set aside information that contradicted its campaign narrative. Perfectly good intelligence information, he just threw it in the trash. The U.S. government captured more than 1 million documents during the May 2011 raid that killed Osama bin Laden. Top administration officials initially described it as a treasure trove of intelligence on Al-Qaeda and its affiliates. But more than 3 years later, the senior DIA official who ran the project, Colonel Derek Harvey, said the intelligence community has fully analyzed less than 10% of the collection. Less than 10% in 3 years. So much for treating it like a treasure trove of intelligence, right? Top DIA officials were told directly to stop providing analysis based on the bin Laden documents. The administration had decided to end the war on terror, and no amount of new intelligence about threats from Al-Qaeda was going to change their minds. So our administration, our president, our national security, not agency, but advisor, and our Secretary of State and Obama's cabinet positions, they all chose to be willfully ignorant. Ignorant of the intelligence, ignorant of the threats that the intelligence posed or shown. A central element of the effort to end the wars was peace talks with the Taliban. Initially, top officials said the Taliban must satisfy certain preconditions, which would be to disavow Al-Qaeda, recognize the Afghan constitution, before talks could proceed. The Taliban never agreed to those preconditions, so the administration dropped them. Mullah Omar's men simply demanded that the United States free their top 5 commanders held at Guantanamo. In May of 2014, Obama did just that. He released those 5 commanders held at Guantanamo in exchange for a deserter and a traitor named Bo Bergdahl. Intelligence officials testified that the 5 Taliban commanders were almost certain to return to the fight against the U.S. Obama portrayed the exchange as potentially opening the door to reconciliation talks. Look, this was the first reason the Obama administration wanted to release the Taliban 5. There's no doubt about it. As a confidence-building measure to jumpstart negotiations with one of Al-Qaeda's strongest allies. This desperate attempt at diplomacy, it failed. This was preemptive capitulation. This was folding like a cheap chair, buckling like a cheap belt. Call it whatever you want to, selling out one's country. We covered the oath of office a few weeks ago, and what you have to stand there and swear on a Bible that you will do as President of the United States. And this man has not lived up to that oath, which is required by law to assume the office. And if we can't get rid of him based on that, what the hell could we ever get rid of him for? On February 24th, the Taliban rejected press reports saying they were willing to negotiate with the Afghan government and decried the occupation of Afghanistan, a reference to the U.S.-led international presence in the country. They had simply wanted their leaders freed, and they had been freed. In early 2011, Obama's administration formalized its hopes for improved relations with Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad by restoring a diplomatic presence in Damascus. Ambassador Robert Stephen Ford presented his papers to Assad on January 25th of 2011. 4 months later, as the Syrian regime was engaged in the slaughter of its own people, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton suggested that Assad was a reformer. As the U.S. government accumulated evidence of Assad's role in the widespread killing of his own people, Obama called for him to go and warned that the movement or use of chemical weapons would be a red line. Remember the red line in the sand? But when the United Nations and U.S. government confirmed reports that the Syrian regime had repeatedly used chemical weapons, the administration balked. Typical. Obama officials acknowledged that Assad was a puppet of the Iranian regime. In spite of that fact, or more likely because of it, Assad was allowed to cross the red line and continue his carnage. Although Assad agreed to ship some of his chemical munitions out of Syria, his regime continued to slaughter Syrians with conventional weapons and barrel bombs. In the 4 years since the U.S. Senate's ambassador, more than 200,000 people have died in this civil war, and I guarantee you that number's even higher today. In January 2014, David Remick of The New Yorker did an interview in which Obama famously suggested that the radical Islamist group amassing territory in Syria and Iraq and brutally killing those trying to stop it was nothing to worry about. Remnick asked Obama about the implications of the Iraqis losing Fallujah to ISIS. The president said, quote, "The analogy we use around here sometimes, and I think is accurate, is if a JV team puts on Lakers uniforms, that doesn't make them Kobe Bryant." Ladies and gentlemen, ISIS is anything but JV. And they are holding on to 1/3 of Iraq and 1/3 of Syria and have designs to expand. They're controlling a large portion of the oil fields in Iraq. By early summer of that year, the Iraqis were urgently asking Washington for help with ISIS. The State Department casually responded by noting that the U.S. would be training some Iraqi soldiers later in the summer. Yawn. Thank you. This was going, we offered to train their soldiers later in the summer while ISIS was taking huge chunks of land in Iraq, including Mosul. Fallujah had already fallen, the country's second largest city. Obama continued to boast that he had ended the war in Iraq. And by September 2014, it was no longer plausible for the administration to downplay ISIS. Oh no, he couldn't keep it quiet. The group had become such an urgent threat that Obama delivered a primetime address to the nation to describe his efforts to address this cancer. After months of dithering, Obama said, "I know many Americans are concerned about these threats. Tonight, I want you to know that the United States of America is meeting them with strength and resolve. We will hunt down terrorists who threaten our country wherever they are." But even as Obama finally acknowledged the threat from the Islamic State group. He sought to portray it as just another violent group. ISIL, or ISIS, is not Islamic, he said. This goes back to the Marie Harf comments earlier talking about Joseph Kony's Christian army. The difference, Miss Harf, and I know you're intently tuned in tonight, right? Yeah, sure. But the difference is that Christianity is founded in the Bible. And in the Bible, you cannot find where people are told to wage war in God's name and kill those who won't convert. It's true that God did command deaths in the Old Testament, but you have to understand the Bible. Okay, the Old Testament is just that, the Old Testament. There was a turning point. And we'll go into that on another show. But anyway, today, senior administration officials speak of a campaign against the Islamic State that will take decades, and top intelligence officials testify that attacks from members of the Islamic State potentially represent an immediate and grave threat to the homeland. Now, just this morning, Fox reported that an alleged attack had begun by Iraqi military forces to retake the city of Mosul. We shall see how this goes. There's no word on whether these are American-trained troops or whether these are the same Iraqis that threw down their guns and ran in fear like cowering little bitches when ISIS rolled into town the first time. But one thing you can count on for sure is that the Grouch will keep his fingers on the pulse of that stuff that's happening and will be passing it along to you as it's made available. And as we wrap up the show tonight, I want to thank Politibunny Sam Janney once again for joining us. Very sad that Ken Wall could not make it onto the program. Hopefully another night with Ken. I would like to thank the show's producer, Mr. Rick Robinson, who also is host of America Off the Rails here on K98, a great program you should take the time to tune into. And right after me, Mr. Producer, are you there right now?
Yes, sir, I am.
Who's on? Liz is up next. What is Liz's show? I am so sorry.
No, it's all right. The Liz Harrison Radio Show, produced by Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Liz Harrison Radio Show. Folks, Liz is brilliant. Stay tuned and listen and learn something. And other than that, I hope to see everybody back next Monday for 2 more hours. I'll get used to the 2-hour thing. I promise it'll get better. I'll also see you Thursday night in Bunny's chat room on Unapologetically Bunny over there on the 405. And I think that's going to do it for me, Mr. Producer, unless you have something to add.
No, basically, at this point, this show, once it comes to a close, if you stay with the feed, this one should drop right as soon as we end it, and then Liz's show should start. Also, I hate to admit this, but because someone else is actually going to start picking up one of our other shows, we have moved the Wake Up America show. It will now actually be competing directly with Bunny, so I don't expect anybody to catch it live, but it will also always be available as a podcast. So Thursday evenings will be kind of, it's in your old slot, so it won't be competing with Bunny. It'll be competing with Jason. So Thursday evenings will now be back-to-back radio for me, 6 to 7 on America Off the Rails, then rolling right straight into Wake Up America with my co-host, Denny C. We have another group in the works of picking up some of our shows, and that happens to be one of them, so I did promise we would get that one going again. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and probably take us out of here. You'll hear some outro music here in just a second. That will conclude this particular show, and then as soon as we get it off the hook here, then Liz's show will pick up. And then at 10 o'clock tonight, we do have Open Eyes with Ira. That's when we switch over to the Late Night in the Midlands crew. And then, of course, you can catch Late Night in the Midlands, the regular weekly or daily broadcast, right after that show is over from 12 to 3. So right here on K98Talk.com, usually Monday through Fridays, we do have regular continuous programming for you right now from 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. in the morning. So make sure you stay tuned as much as you can. Also, anything you ever miss, we are available on podcast. So it is always there for you to go back and look. Now, as we continue to expand, we will start only having the content available from the other stations for about a month. Then we'll have to start cleaning out some tracks to make room as we bring more stuff in. But we do try to bring you as much content as possible and as varied as possible. Mostly conservative, a little bit of liberal, some of the really crazy off the wall stuff too. So make sure you hang out and check it all out, and we do hope you enjoy it. At this point, I'm going to get us out of here because I don't know about Grouchy, but I got to get up really damn early in the morning, so not much fun.
Yeah, you know, that alarm goes off early every morning.
Yeah. They really need to figure out a time where you can, like, go to work and not have to kill yourself to get there. And then I want George Jetson's schedule, damn it. You remember when the Jetsons, 4 hours, 3 days a week, all you do is push a button? I want that job.
Yeah, that would be, and I was going to say, I have the perfect solution. It's a 6-hour workday, but nobody here in America is getting hip with that. It's actually happening in other places around the world, either that or a 4-day work week, at just 8 hours a day. Again, getting hip around the world. We need to take a note. I have a friend that lives in the UK, and he says that he can get a year's worth of work done in 10 months, but he can't do it in 12. You think about that, folks, as you go out.
Yeah, that made my head hurt. But anyway.
Oh, but ain't that America? For you and me, ain't that America? Something to see, baby. Ain't that America? Home of the free, yeah.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.